Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 148 of the Stomp the Bus Show. And boy, we have a doozy today. I almost was going to record yesterday, but all the wonderful news of the day just came through today. So I figured I'd talk on a Tuesday and dive into some of these Sam Leavitt rumors, reports, and just share my thoughts and what I think this is going to mean for ASU. And yeah, so please like and subscribe. Please rate and review for the show. And then I should also point out that I'm not going to be touching on ASU hockey, ASU volleyball, or ASU women's basketball in this episode. Really just going to touch on men's basketball for a little bit at the end, but want to be clear about that because this is pretty much going to be football, or really football speculation, rumors, and fun stuff. Not really. Yeah, this sucks. So first thing I see today is a tweet from On3 from Pete Nakos and Steve Wiltfong that Sam Leavitt is unlikely to return to ASU. There's been more news that has come out throughout the day. In fact, this the original report was quote tweeted from Sam Leavitt's brother Dallin, who is apparently, I learned today, he's his agent and obviously his brother, and he said that why would you do that? That's not where things are right now. He's still deciding what he wants to do. This is a text that he got from Pete Nakos. Wanted to give you a heads up that we're reporting Sam is expected to enter the transfer portal and is doubtful to return to Arizona State. Dallin captions this Instagram story of his text messages at On3 Y'all Are a Joke. Addressed this right before Pete released the news. So, more news has come out. CBS Sports is writing an article. This is from Chris Hummer. And the first big splash of the 2025 transfer cycle did not come Tuesday, but rumor season kicked off in earnest with reports that ASU star quarterback Sam Leavitt is considering the transfer portal for the 2026 season. Whispers of Leavitt possibly leaving aren't new. It's been an open discussion point among industry sources since Leavitt's season ended early with a foot injury in late October. ASU is set to lose a good chunk of its starting 22 to graduation of the NFL, and the Sun Devils are expected to have significant work to do in the portal to rebuild. He can make $3 million. All of that said, Leavitt hasn't made a final decision on his future, nor has the Sun Devil staff been involved or informed of his impending departure. There's also been other reporting that shares that he has not made a decision. And John Gambadoro of Arizona Sports 98.7 mentioned that ASU, basically, if you read through the lines of what he said, is that ASU has a good amount of money, but only so much. And how much do they want to allocate to Sam when they have to make all these other replacements to get a full roster? So I know that there are some and we've had some other, media members, Ralph Amston, people around the ASU community that seem more bullish on him coming back. So, and Chris Cartman is kind of, I don't have access to the Sun Devil space or the what's it called? The Sun Devil source boards, but based on the quote tweets, people on that one didn't seem quite as certain about him leaving either. So I guess there's been some good news since the initial quote tweet, or since the initial tweet from On3 and Pete Nakos, that he's like, that really makes it seem like he's going to leave. The return to the program is doubtful thing, like kind of upset a lot of people. And so, and with Dallin Leavitt saying, why would you do that? That's not where things are right now. He is still deciding what he wants to do. That has opened the door for like some hope that he could return. It's just negotiation, right? Like that is a definite reality of this. And I'm not gonna sit here and say like he's definitely leaving, but I can't see all this stuff that comes out today and just sit here and tell you that like, oh, he's been loyal before and he'll be loyal again. And, like, oh, he's been so like complimentary of ASU in the past and all this stuff. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And I honestly think that this is worth panicking about. This is worth being concerned about as a fan. And I'll be honest, I just think it's 70-30 that he is not the quarterback at ASU next year, with not removing going to the NFL draft in that equation, right? Like, I think that is on the board. Like, if Sam Leavitt wanted to enter the NFL draft, he would get drafted. Now, he wouldn't get drafted in the first round, most likely, and there's his leg injury that he's still dealing with. That is an interesting subplot in this, right? Like, if he does go to a school and if he's out for spring ball because he has a leg injury, how does that play out, right? Like, that's a real thing to consider. But apparently schools, I don't want to say are overlooking that, but are still really intrigued by him. And obviously, like, I will get into some of how this may affect ASU like on the field, but like losing Leavitt would be really bad. Even if he like, I don't think that necessarily like losing Leavitt means that ASU is doomed to have bad QB play next year. I don't think that's true at all, but it would still be a bad one. Like, it's going like, if you lose him, it is more likely than not the next quarterback you get from the portal will not be as good as him. Does that mean like that means ASU could still potentially win more games? Like, there's a chance they go 7-5 this year. And so you get, a quarterback out of the portal and like maybe take a buy low on a former, starter who got benched somewhere. Like, there are options, but that doesn't mean it's going to be better. And there is value in just keeping a guy like this who the fan base generally likes. You've had success with him. Even this year, that where it's been clunky at times, like, they have had success this year. I mean, they entered the Houston game. What were they? 5-1? No. 5-2. Yeah, they were 5-2 overall. And then they lost it. Yeah. So they were 5-2 with not the toughest schedule in the world remaining, entering that Houston game where he re-aggravated the injury. So it's not like this season has been terrible, but it also hasn't been ideal. I mean, the Mississippi State game, that was 100% on Leavitt. So from like the actual on-field perspective, right? We have no idea what his, I'm just going to say, likely departure means for ASU on the field. We honestly don't. But it's probably not beneficial, right? Like, it's more likely than not going to be a negative. And then you get to the whole perception side, right? And the perception is ASU it would just be another thing that happened that makes ASU feel smaller than a lot of its competition. Not all of its competition, right? But a lot of its competition, national competition, right? And I mean, like, for ASU fans, it would really suck because of what just happened with Jaden Daniels a few years ago. Now, it's not apples to oranges with a Sam Leavitt transfer and a Jaden Daniels transfer. I really like Jaden Daniels transferred because the program was like going to be really punished with the stuff from the investigation that the NCAA found out about the recruiting violations and COVID and all that. They had zero NIL. ASU now does not, like, it's just middle of the pack in terms of like mid-tier schools. So like this is where not being like having all the NIL in the world hurts you, right? Because like sure, like Sam Leavitt, and this was reported by John Gambadoro in 98.7, like Gambo used the phrase multi-million dollars in NIL. So that means he's at least making $2 million in NIL at ASU. I've heard the number 2.5 thrown around. Like he's making good money. He's not making the most possible money that he could, right? Like if he shops himself, he can get $3 million. And is that too much for ASU? I understand the mindset of like, okay, like he wants a lot. And this is something that Gambo said on 98.7. I'm going to retweet that. In fact, I'll retweet it right now. I'm not pronouncing that right, but repost. I still can't get over this. Called X and not Twitter, but whatever. One of his points in the calculus of whether ASU would hang on to Sam Leavitt or not is, okay, if we have a certain amount of NIL money to work with, would bringing back Leavitt be too much? It's also that same talking point is also not talking point, but topic is also mentioned in the CBS Sports story done by Chris Hummer. So this is what he wrote. This is his sixth paragraph in this. The sheer math of the situation may make it hard for Arizona State to retain Leavitt if it got into a bidding war. Even if it kept him, it might prevent the Sun Devils from building a quality roster beyond QB1. And so that's kind of the gist of this, right? I think there is an absolute reality that's not like me being a homer or fan fiction or anything. That's like ASU keeps Sam Leavitt, but they have to skimp in other areas of building the roster. A lot of that would be through the portal, because another thing that came up, and like this is something that I don't think has been mentioned enough in this whole discussion of whether Sam Leavitt leaves or not, is so many guys from this team, the starting players, are going to either graduate or be in the NFL draft. And so let's just go through it right now. Jordan Tyson, his key target person, he threw the ball the most to, right? That's maybe at the expense of his other receivers. He will be in the NFL draft. The second best pass catcher, Shimon Mateer, tight end. I looked it up today. He's a redshirt senior. So whatever we think of his potential pro opportunities, Mateer will not be at ASU next year. Maxi Anachor, right tackle. He's going to go to the NFL draft. You've seen him. I bet once like these top 100s come out, he'll be in that. He's going to the Shrine Bowl along with, I believe Tyson was invited, and also Keyshawn Elliott. And so the defense. And then Cal Scott, I believe, is a senior. Ben Coleman is a senior. I'm trying to look up Josh Atkins but I don't think that Josh Atkins is a redshirt senior at left tackle. So like you have all these upperclassmen / really high level skill guys on offense. Rayleigh Brown has a chance to go to the NFL. There's a chance, I'd say a pretty good chance, that Rayleigh Brown finishes the year with 100 yards rushing. A lot of that he'll probably have to make up because he has like 820. So he'll probably have to make up a lot of that in the Colorado game. But you can also see like Rayleigh Brown having a very specific role on an NFL team. I've seen him come up. And again, not all these guys are going to be like mocked to the first round or anything. But if you're Leavitt and you know that your best offensive lineman is going to be gone, your all-world wide receiver is going to be gone, your NFL adjacent-ish running back who is talented will be gone, Shimon Mateer, best tight end, will be gone, and then three other guys on the offensive line will also be gone. And you're just left with an offense that has way more question marks, right? And you're left with some like decent complementary receivers, but a lot of those guys have Derek Eusebio's best game was this past week, and that was with Sims throwing him the ball. Jalen Moss falls into that category too. Injuries. Now, Jaron Hamilton, like he showed some things, but like if you're Leavitt, you're not gonna be like, oh, I have Jaron Hamilton here. Like, no, Jaron Hamilton could easily just leave too if Leavitt like. So that's not something you can bank on. Defensively, they're also going to be losing a ton of guys, right? Like your two high build edge rushers in Clayton Smith and Prince Dorba. Both will be gone. Your linebackers, Keyshawn Elliott, who I just mentioned, Crook will be gone. Probably your two best safeties in Miles Rouser, and then who knows what's going to happen with Xavier Alford, but he could be gone. And then Keith Abney has an opportunity to be a late first round pick. So you just like I think that this paragraph, or really just like string of paragraphs from Chris Hummer in the CBS Sports article. So there's this one I'm highlighting here. Arizona State's set to lose a good chunk of its starting 22 to graduation of the NFL, and the Sun Devils are expected to have significant work to do in the portal to rebuild. So that's one thing you have to remember. And then this is another paragraph that's interesting. The salary for a quarterback of Leavitt's caliber will be $3 million plus next season. Okay. ASU as an athletic department isn't spending the full rev share allotment this year, $18 million versus 20.5. And the Sun Devils will be bidding in schools who will have both the full rev share and a bunch of NIL dollars that can go beyond the rev share cap to offer Leavitt. So I guess the one thing I don't think is that big of a deal in this whole conversation, I could be underrating this, is the 18 million versus 20.5. Not because of what's reported right here, but because of what Dillingham said after the West Virginia game, talking about the whole idea that the school is like doubling down in its resources allocation for football, and so he's not worried about what he's getting from the school. And so when you pair that with they're only at 18 out of 20.5, like to me that isn't really a big thing, but it's something to keep in the back of your mind. I think the two big things, I think for the things guiding Leavitt's decision are mostly about the uncertainty of who is going to be on the roster, particularly on offense next season, more so than the actual money. Though I do think the money does play a role in this, right? Like if ASU just dropped $4 million on Sam Leavitt to get him to stay, then I think he would stay. I think it would be like, okay, I'm getting $4 million. Like, sure, I can maybe get developed somewhere else, but it's $4 million. I'm comfortable here, all that. But like, I mean, maybe it's more about not knowing who's going to be on the team. Because like I said, if ASU does drop $4 million on him, then there's less to go around and less for the rest of the roster that needs replenishment. Like some of the younger guys on this team will step up. Like you got the Rodney Bimage and Martell Hughes, Makua Pule has gotten some run. You have AJ Ia, young tight end, but we don't know if all those guys are going to stay, first of all. So even the young promising guys you do have, you don't know what their future is at ASU. And then you have just other schools just coming in and offering a ton of money. And some of the schools he's rumored to be interested in are the Athletic had Texas Tech, Miami, and I think it was Indiana. And so I also think the Athletic article that came out, I retweeted it from Doug Haller on Twitter. I think that is a kind of more, I don't want to say like a little bit more threatening to me because like the Athletic football writers, like these are a bunch of like really like detailed old school journalists. And I just don't think they're putting stuff out there unless it is really like verifiably sourced. I mean, Dallin Leavitt didn't quote tweet or didn't, share screenshotted texts of what he thought was, really like wrong with the reporting for the Athletic. He did it for On3. So like, and it's just a second legitimate outlet coming out. And then you add on CBS and then you add on Arizona Sports with John Gambadoro. Like there's a lot, it's one thing that's clearly true is that like Sam Leavitt and his camp, meaning his brother, really his family, if his brother's his agent, they are seeing what's out there. That is the absolute most charitable way you can read this situation from an ASU perspective. Now, the most negative way you can read it is like they're looking for the biggest bag, and there's a reason why Texas Tech, Miami, and Indiana are connected to ASU because or connected to Leavitt because those are the schools that are like really transfer heavy and have the money to make it happen. So that's just kind of the way it stands right now. I do want to touch on this Athletic article. This is by Sam Kahn, Antonio Morales, and David Ubben, and then Doug Howler contributed to the report as well. So this is just a lead, and I think this lead kind of like seeing both reports really is what makes me shudder. Arizona State quarterback Sam Leavitt, who led the Devils to the College Football Playoff in 2024, is unlikely to return to the school in 2026 as he pursues, keyword there, lucrative offers from other programs to enter the transfer portal. A program source confirmed to The Athletic. Leavitt's camp is actively shopping the quarterback to other programs. He could command a deal with an annual compensation exceeding $2 million if he enters the portal. Okay, so that's the thing. Like, I think he's already getting that right now. I don't have proof, but like, again, if Gambo's coming on air and saying multi-millions of dollars, like, I'm assuming that's at least $2 million he's referencing. Comes to $2 million if he enters the portal. Okay. The school source told The Athletic that Miami and Texas Tech are two potential destinations for Leavitt. Both have starting quarterbacks who are in their final year of eligibility, and both have shown willingness in past cycles to spend big in the portal for players at positions of need. A Texas Tech source denied to The Athletic that the school would be a potential landing spot for Leavitt. Will Hammond, a former four-star recruit who served as Morton's backup for the last 2 seasons before a recent knee injury, cut his 2025 season short. That's who ASU played when they beat Texas Tech. Is under a 2-year revenue sharing contract with the school and is viewed as the heir apparent to Morton. So that's pretty key when you hear them talking about Texas Tech, because right, they do have Hammond. Leavitt's brother Dallin, who represents the quarterback, seemed to deny the report by sharing a screenshot of the text exchange with an on-through reporter on Instagram. It shows what he wrote. This is an interesting paragraph here in the Athletic story. Leavitt's potential move is to test the market. Okay, Leavitt's potential move is to test the market and is not a sign that there is any rift between the quarterback and head coach Kenny Dillingham, a second program source said. That is an interesting little quote because another thing that's happened is like, of course, Dillingham, says I was never leaving after the West Virginia game. He compliments the fans for showing up to games. And then he also had said the thing about like, oh, we need to get more local businesses involved here so you can name something after a player and all that, which that third thing that I said, it makes him sound desperate. It makes him sound like ASU is poor. And so obviously all these other schools, and then there's news. I don't want to call it news, but like there's word out there that Dillingham is the odds-on favorite to be the next LSU coach, but it's from BetOnline AG, which is an offshore sports book. And so that's why I don't really call it news, because it's a sports book putting out odds for a next coach. And to me, like, that seems like the reason I'm freaking out about Levick. You got On3, CBS Sports, The Athletic, all kind of saying to different degrees, like, yeah, he's looking to see what's out there. He may come back to ASU, but he's looking to see what's out there. No final decision has been made, but he's looking to see what's out there. So, like, that's different than a sports book somewhere being like, well, these are the odds. Like, okay, especially when you have Dillingham saying at the press conference recently, like, I'm not going anywhere, or I'll just say in his specific words, I was never leaving. So there's that. And when you pair it with the report from Cartman that said he went to all the what are they called? Team meeting rooms and told them I'm going to be at ASU next year. Now, so like, I don't look. Kenny Dillingham could absolutely leave. Like, if you're sitting here and you're like, oh, well, Sam Leavitt could leave, but Dillingham definitely won't leave. Like, I am not in that group right now. Like, Dillingham absolutely could leave. I think it's clearly at this point, it's much less likely that Dillingham leaves compared to Sam Leavitt leaving. Like, Sam Leavitt, as I've said earlier in the show, like, I think it's 70-30 that he leaves. Like, I think ASU, if you're an ASU fan right now, you need to be mentally preparing for a different person to be the starting quarterback for ASU next year. And if Sam Leavitt is back, then that's great. Like, that's great, but like, really need to search like former high profile quarterbacks who haven't worked out at their previous stop. Like, those are potential people, like high level, senior quarterbacks who are looking for one last stop type of guys. Like, there are like names you should think of. I'm going to go through a few in a few minutes, but man, like, you cannot. The only good thing about the news coming out today, because the fact that this is coming out with 2 games to go, ASU still technically has a chance to go to the Big 12 championship game. Unlikely, needs some help from BYU, all set. Like, I'm not really predicting that, but it is a legitimate possibility. And that all sucks. Like, that's what really sucks about this current era of college sports. Like, there's a lot of good about it too. Like, this current era of college sports helped ASU have a great season last year and is helping it have a respectable season this year, despite some, bad luck at times. But the fact that this is coming out like on November 18th, we have like, there's still so much left to be decided in college football, and it's come and all this, and it's the same with Lane Kiffin, right? Like, if you're an Ole Miss fan right now, you're having a great year, but it also sucks because you're like, oh, like, is Lane actively shopping himself right now? And like, we need to be prepared for him to leave. And there's reports that like he may not even coach the playoff if they make it there, and all this, like, that's not fun. And it's a real downer of a special season for them. And so all of the timeline stuff of this is what really irks people. What I will say is, it coming out now, at least as fans, I'm going to speak for the fans first, like, at least mentally, you can prepare yourself for Sam Leavitt to leave. And you can, talk yourself into Cam Dyer, Jake Fetty, some of the young guys ASU has in the pipeline, or potential portal quarterbacks. Okay. So that's what has to be considered in this. And it also gives, powers that be more time to shift money around, add more money into the pot, gives Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo way more of an incentive to look for transfer quarterbacks. Like, at least ASU, for, whatever the, motivation behind this coming out today, at least there's a runway. There's a runway to vet potential transfer quarterbacks, know who you're competing against in the transfer portal, right? Because if ASU loses Leavitt, at least part of it will be due to money. And so that would mean that, I don't want to say you hit the bargain basement, but like, if I don't even know who another high profile quarterback would be, like, if some random quarterback like costs $2 million, like, maybe get the guy who's 1.5 or whatever it is. So, but anyway, my point with this is like, the news coming out today is, it's not good, but this whole none of this situation is good. No matter how it happened, it would be bad. So the only silver lining is, okay, like, we're on the clock. We know what the score is. There's not any sort of like, oh, like, he'll probably stay. Like, no, you can't think like that now. Like, maybe he'll stay. Like, I'm not trying to write anything in stone, but if you're, a part of the ASU football apparatus, it's time to really shift into focus for the people who aren't involved in, winning games on Saturdays, right? Like, I'm not saying Dillingham has to have his full focus and Arroyo have to have their full focus in identifying transfer quarterbacks, but like they need to have some of these staffers or whomever, other people in the building, like, hey, like I can't devote all this time to this now because it's game week, but we need to see what, so and so out of the portal, if that could be a match. That's just that's just how it is. And so this is something that it just sucks. Like, I opened this, right? Like, and I get the reasons. I'm not like here to like, the ship has sailed on, oh, we're loyal to the brand and all this. Like, no, like it would be great if Sam Leavitt stayed. Like, and I do think there are real reasons for him to stay. Don't get me wrong. Like, he'll get more money more money than he's made this year at ASU next year, right? He'll get a pay bump, but is it enough of a pay bump? And like, he will have the coaching staff there, most likely. Like, assuming Dillingham stays, he will have the coaching staff here. And it's not like, oh, my coach left. Like, no, that's not what it is, more than likely. So, and I trust, like, I think that Dillingham will be able to get like competent offensive players. Like, maybe you just really index the offense and you kind of sacrifice some on the defensive end. And, maybe that results in Sam Leavitt having better stats, and like maybe the season as a whole doesn't go as well, but you can, get Sam Leavitt to a higher level. Or they see that, like, hey, like this is too much. Like, whatever his ask is, it's too much. And then we can reallocate it to more of the roster. The issue with that is maybe in a 1-year sample size, that line of thinking actually works and actually ends up being beneficial. Like, who knows? From an on-field perspective, like I am not giving any sort of like, we have no idea. We have no idea. I mean, there's a world that, heck, Leavitt leaves, Dillingham leaves, and we hire Eric Morris from North Texas and bring in their quarterback, Drew Mestamaker, who had like a game where he threw for 600 yards. He's been killing it this year. You bring those two guys in, ASU just like has a great offense and has enough talent, and we're back to having a 9-win season or whatever. And it's just like, who knows? Like, we have no idea because of the portal. Like, it's just the volatility is so much. And even if you lose a guy like Leavitt, it's not like there's nobody out there to replace him. Now, it is unlikely that he will be upgraded upon. Like, that I don't agree with. There is a likelihood that like it's equivalent quarterback play. I don't think that's crazy. So yeah, it's just a lot. It's a lot to take in on a random Tuesday. Again, the bright side of that is like we're dealing with it now, and the final, tweet from Pete Nakos or The Athletic or whomever of Sam Leavitt is going to school X, and that would be really painful. It would really suck. It would really suck if he goes to Texas Tech. Now, I think that the fact that they have Will Hammond under contract for next year makes me think that's less of a likelihood than people would throw out there. Miami seems like a real possibility. And now I'm in the stage of like, okay, like I don't want him to go to LSU. I don't want both of our quarterbacks who have been awesome to leave and go to LSU. Like, I just don't want that. Miami or Indiana, I could live with more so. It would still suck. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this is not like cope. It's just picking from bad options, right? I would just prefer to have Sam Leavitt come back. So, yeah, I don't know. I get the one thing though that like I do think that's a real factor in this is when Sam Leavitt returned last year, the whole roster, like there's a reason why we had high expectations for this ASU team. And for that matter, like there's a reason why this ASU team hasn't fallen off a cliff despite some negative outcomes happening against them, right? Like Jordan Tyson's been out for 3 games, potentially 4. Seems like he's 50-50 to play at Colorado. So that's 4 games most likely without Jordan Tyson. Leavitt, your starting quarterback, will miss, let's see, Utah, Iowa State, West Virginia. So 5 full games and then a decent bit of the Houston game where at least he was hampered. So there's that. Like he wasn't there the whole time. Xavier Alford has been out the entire year. Thank God for Boogie Wilson, even though he made a terrible play in that West Virginia game. A game I haven't even talked about yet, right? Like a game that, yeah, man, I'm not in a great mood in this episode. If ASU had lost to West Virginia, let's say Gomez misses that second field goal and they lose, with the context of them giving up a 90-yard touchdown screen pass on 3rd and 27, and then you have the news that comes out about Leavitt is maybe or maybe not going to return to ASU and he's shopping himself. Woo, boy, that would be, I don't even know if I could function. That would just be in pain. I already had to deal with my Seahawks losing a heartbreaker. Thank God for the Mariners signing Josh Naylor. I can't believe I'm at the point where I'm so thankful about the Seattle Mariners, but today, November 18th, that's how I feel. But like keeping it back with ASU, like if you would pair a West Virginia loss with this, I would be losing my mind. I'll get to the Colorado game in more detail later, but if losing to Colorado this week after this news would be really, really bad. It would just, the vibes would be absolutely terrible heading into a territorial cup game against an Arizona team that is just good. Whether like at worst Arizona finishes 7-5, same with ASU, right? No matter what, like Fifita is a good college quarterback. They have good wide receivers. Like they are a good team. ASU is beating good teams. Who knows how it'll play out, but it's not the easy matchup we thought it was going to be entering this year. And that brings me back to another thing. Like I do keep going back to this. Like the perceptual aspects of losing Sam Leavitt are much worse, in my opinion, than the on-field. And that's not actually a dig at Sam Leavitt's ability. It's more that like, if he leaves, you can just find someone else, right? Like that doesn't mean they'll be better, but at least you have the potential of someone to come in and replace him. But the perception aspect is terrible because it's like, it's a signal that like, oh, like you can't hold on to your best players. Fair or not, right? Fair or not. Even though, again, like it seems pretty clear he's making $2 million+ at ASU. So it's not like it's not like there's zero going towards him, and like that stuff would linger. And it would also just, again, when you pair it with losing Jaden Daniels, again, completely different circumstances. But I mean, like that's tough for ASU fans. Like, and even if you get a really good year, it'll just perpetuate. Like if Cam Dyer ends up being like, oh, like this guy could get drafted to the NFL. This guy's really talented. Well, then people are going to swoop in on him. If Jake Fetty has a great first few years, people are going to swoop in on him. And it's like, you're almost hoping that you can have like a Rocco Becht or a Miller Moss, or I don't want to be disrespectful to Noah Fifita, but like he's not going to have an NFL career. Most likely, just based on his size, he's a good college quarterback. This isn't meant to be disrespectful to him, but like Fifita's name isn't getting, like he's not getting hunted down in the portal because he's just seen as not quite the level of Sam Leavitt. Fair or not. Anyway, I'm talking about like good college quarterbacks that almost certainly won't make the NFL or have any sort of like real NFL career. But guys with, real real ability, real like and more so like the measurables, right? You're worried about like, okay, like do we even like is it even worth pursuing these guys because they'll leave? Like, I think it's still worth pursuing all the good players you can get. And if they leave, they leave, I mean, because look, no matter what happens with Sam Leavitt, and it would be a gut punch to lose him. It really would. I'm not but you would have to acknowledge the good things that he did at ASU. Even though look, Jaden Daniels had a really good first year at ASU. The COVID year is like a total incomplete with him for the most part. And then his junior year was just suboptimal. It wasn't what he was capable of playing as. I think that's a fair read on that situation. With Leavitt, look, you got one incredible year out of him. Sure, Scadaboo was a part of that, but they do not make the playoff with some mid-level, with Miller Moss or some mid-level replacement college quarterback. He won them a few games and was the difference in a few of their wins. So there's that. It's just, we would have to acknowledge the good things that he did if he did leave. And another thing is, I guess, the college sports landscape, or college football, I should say, it's even more different now than it was 4 or 5 years ago when Jaden Daniels left, because unfortunately we were the first victims of getting your team rated by the portal because we just didn't have any sort of act together from an NIL perspective. Now this feels a little bit more like a one-off, in the sense that he is very coveted by other teams around the country. There is no doubt about that. It's not even debatable. He was coveted by teams last year. The difference is all the guys who are leaving to the NFL and or are seniors, literally all of them came back. And so if you're Leavitt, you're oh, I should come back. I'm still getting paid a good bit of a lot. He had a Powerade sponsorship. It's not like he didn't have any sort of legit money behind him. I want to keep repeating that because it's he'll get paid more if and when he leaves. But I just don't think it's he was so poor before. It's no, he's again, if we're to believe Gambo, who said it on, he's connected, right? Multi-millions of dollars to making multi-millions of dollars. Obviously, it's two different levels, but that's part of this. That is a factor. That is something that I don't think should just be ignored in this whole situation. What was I saying? I lost my train of thought, but it's just, but anyway, when he didn't leave last year, and there was the rumors about him going to Tennessee and all that, which those were completely unfounded, but with him not leaving last year, right, it was because the roster was coming back. This year, the roster is not coming back. You're getting some guys, you're getting some, decent offensive linemen who showed some flashes coming back. You're getting some wide receivers who've been decent or to okay who are coming back on offense. Kyson Brown, he's been injured. So again, the offense that's returning for ASU right now, it's going to be a lot of portal guys. We have no idea because so many of those guys are heading to the NFL draft or are graduating, right? I don't want to say they're all going to get drafted, but they're all seniors / guys who are going to get picked. And then the defense is in a similar situation. So it made way more sense for him to come back. And if we're being honest, Sam Leavitt probably thought he would have at least a repeat of last year. And if that were to happen, then he would have, been picked probably in the first round, especially with how this draft's playing out. Well, he was on track, I would say, to have a repeat of the 2024 season, right? He started out slow. He wasn't great against Baylor, but made enough plays for them to win, right? The throw to Eusebio is a huge turning point in that game. He played really well versus TCU, but then missed the Utah game. Okay. And maybe this traces back to that because that was he's going to play. And then he's oh, nope, not going to play. And now it's oh, that was interesting. Jeff Sims didn't get a whole week of practice. ASU gets housed at Utah. Then he plays great against Texas Tech. Only quarterback to really have a good game against them this entire year. right? That, and like that kind of showed that he was on the path to having a good season once again, especially with this final stretch of the year is not the most difficult that ASU is faced, right? So that probably could have happened, but he gets injured. And that maybe like the fact that he just had more time to think about things, more time for people to get in his ear. Who knows? Like I saw things on Twitter like he wasn't at the West Virginia game. So maybe there's beef, maybe there's beef behind the scenes. We know he's like a fiery guy. And I don't like speculating about this, but like you're essentially a pro athlete now, and I don't like you're threatening to leave. And so if that like that's just how it is. I'm not saying not as like a moral judgment, but like that's just how it is. You're threatening to leave. That's reported enough. That again. So like does everyone, get along with him? I don't know. Probably I mean, I assume that people do at least enough, right? Like he's shown that like outward leadership and he's helped the team win a lot of games and all that. Like, I don't think the team dislikes him, but people said that about Russell Wilson in the past, and it turns out teams disliked him. So that, again, and I don't know. It's tough. Like, it's just a tough thing to have to wrap your mind around as an ASU fan. I mean, I've just ranted for 45 minutes about all sorts of different offshoots and like what could happen. And it's just, it's something you don't want to deal with before. I mean, they have a game this week. They just played a game last week. That's the weirdest part is like, we're in the season. We're in the stretch run of the season. And like on paper, ASU has a lot to play for still. So like, that's something that's interesting. I was going to kind of dive into like different potential quarterbacks. I'm not going to do a deep dive on this episode, but I'll throw a few names out. So number one, I think Cam Dyer. Not that he's going to be a transfer or a guaranteed starter for ASU, but he seems like the next in line after Sims, obviously. Like if Sims got injured, hopefully not, he's been playing excellent, then you would have Cam Dyer play. And he's a big guy, like athletic. And so like there's an opportunity that he could just be the heir apparent. Like it could just switch into that. Other names I'll throw out there, Nico Iamaleava. I don't like if he would just be coming for 1 year to reboot his image, his stock, get paired with a quarterback, someone who's had success with quarterbacks. Like that's the other thing. Like if Dillingham stays, he's still gonna be an attractive coach to pair with quarterbacks. That's just something to keep in mind, like especially with how Jeff Sims is playing. And that's another story to keep an eye on for the rest of this year. Like if Jeff Sims, look, it's on the table that ASU has a very good offensive game against Colorado on Saturday night. I don't know if they will. The way this team is played down to its opponents at times makes me think ASU will win, but not in a way that we like. Similar to the West Virginia game. I know that sounds weird, but like that's just how I'm phrasing it right now. So that like, but like, let's say he throws 3 more touchdowns again. Then he'll have 8 touchdowns in his 4 starts. I mean, that's pretty dang good. And then, or maybe, I don't know when he threw another touchdown pass, but I think I saw that he had 5 touchdown passes. So regardless, like he could finish with 10 touchdowns, just like Sam Leavitt. That's kind of the point I was getting to. I don't think that'll happen. Obviously, like that's a lot to have 5 touchdown passes in 2 games, but then you also throw in the bowl game, right? Like it could happen. So if Jeff Sims has a great finish to the year, that's only going to make Dillingham look like a better, well, one, it'll make him look like a better coach. Like that's just something, but I don't think that's even something to worry about. Like he's just been looked at as a better coach already. So that I'm not worried about, but that's right. Jeff Sims had a touchdown pass against Houston. Okay. All right. Anyway, so if he can get Jeff Sims to play well, like that could attract some big names like Nico Iamaleava for 1 year. DJ Lagway. Florida's having a coaching change. They're starting another quarterback. DJ Lagway has talent. Dillingham, again, has the background with quarterbacks. That's an option. Austin Simmons was the starter at Ole Miss to start the year. He gets injured. Then Trinidad Chambliss comes in. Okay. Like, that could be an option. Drew Mestemaker at North Texas. I've mentioned him. He could be an option. Probably he'll just follow Eric Morris, but you never know. Let's look at Oregon, where Kenny Dillingham came from. Austin Novosad. If you followed the Oregon, quarterback race in fall camp, like Dante Moore wasn't named the starter right away. Like, it took him a bit for him to be named the starter. Maybe that was just Lanning playing games and really gassing up Novosad. I don't know, but maybe he's an option. So there's players like that you have to keep an eye on. There's always guys from the G5, man. Look at Utah. Devin Dampier, G5 quarterback. He's been awesome. Look at Utah's backup, the Bird Ficklin, who just ran all over Baylor. So there's guys out there. Dillingham, I trust Dillingham and Arroyo to know what they're looking for if and when they need to pick out a transfer quarterback. So, yeah, to kind of wrap all this up before I dive into more on-field stuff, this is not a positive news development for ASU in any sort of way. And it will almost certainly, again, I'm just going to say 70-30. I just think Leavitt, I think there's enough that's come out. The quote or the screenshot of the text messages from Dallin Leavitt, it was not a full denial that he would stay or that he would leave. It was not a full-on 100% endorsement guarantee that Leavitt wasn't going anywhere. It was, hey, it was more like, hey, you shouldn't have reported this yet. Or, he hasn't made up his mind. So, and again, there's the option that he could go to the NFL draft, and that would be, I would love for that to happen right now, because that's what we thought was going to happen before the year. Like, if you're an ASU fan, and I mentioned this in a lot of my shows preseason, like, we don't know what's going to happen this year or after this year, rather. Like, Leavitt would likely be gone. Jordan Tyson would be gone. All these starters would be gone. Like, this is what we thought going into this year. Like, this is why this year was such a big deal. And to their credit, they haven't completely wasted this year. It could happen, but we'll see how these two games play out. But there is a chance he goes to the draft. Like, what if Dante Moore and Ty Simpson both don't leave? Then what, right? There's a chance. Could he be like the third quarterback off the board in that scenario? Could it be Mendoza, Sellers, and then Leavitt in the late first round? Like that, that's not something that is completely off the table, right? I would give that like a 10%, right? Like, I don't think that he's going to the draft. But if you game it out and you say, okay, Drew Allar's injured and wasn't playing that well. Cade Klubnik has completely tanked his draft stock. There's a few other guys who were mentioned, but like those were the big two who really dropped off. Sellers has a great like athletic skill set, but he is not. Who knows what's going to happen with him? And then Mendoza will be number one, but like we don't know that Ty Simpson or Dante Moore are going to enter the draft. And some of these other guys, like Julian Sayin, great quarterback, like we don't like he's not going to he can't enter the draft this year. I don't think Gunnar Stockton can either. Arch Manning, right? Like he was hyped, like he's not going to enter the draft. So just there is a world where like Sam Leavitt just kind of falls back. That sounds rude. Like I don't want to be disrespectful to how he's played this year, but I'll rephrase that. That doors open and all of a sudden Sam Leavitt finds himself in a more advantageous draft position than he thought was going to happen. And then that maybe changes his mind. It's like, okay, like if there's a chance I'm the third quarterback off the board because Simpson and Moore aren't going anywhere, like that's something to think about. Although I do not think it'll happen. Ultimately, I think just to kind of wrap stuff up based on everything I've read today, podcasts, I listened to the PHNX shows, They did a great job talking about this. I saw Ralph Amston's tweets, listened to Arizona sports. Like, I've kind of just dug my nose in a lot of this stuff. And I would venture to guess that Leavitt will be leaving. More or less because I think the crux of it is ASU could really keep him if it wanted to, but also knows that if it has, let's just say it has $10 million to spend, does it want to spend 40% of that on Leavitt alone, 35% of that? Maybe it's worth it. Like I think that it would probably still be worth it because you wouldn't have to deal with the perception issue that would come with, hey, you're losing your guy and you're losing a high profile quarterback for the second time in 5 years. That's kind of me being a fan, but there's also a world where they say, say Levi and go get your money and all that. And then they bring in Nico Iamaleava, for example, and he balls out, looks like the high profile player that he was out of high school, that he's shown at Tennessee. And you fill in a bunch of gaps in this roster, and all of a sudden it looks like a great decision to let Sam Leavitt leave. I mean, this is a little bit what happened with the Seahawks. Now, Sam Leavitt was regarded as better than Geno in his career on the Seahawks. But Geno's Seahawks career was better than you remember, especially with how he's played at the Raiders. And it wasn't a clear, obvious decision to go from Geno to Sam Darnold. Now, Sam Darnold, he has his flaws, just threw 4 picks on Sunday and lost the game for Seattle. But over the course of the year, he's been an upgrade, and he's been a reason why the Seahawks have really played well this year. That can happen. It can, if you have a good surrounding, that's important. I do think I think ASU plays at Texas Tech next year, and they play at Texas A&M, and they have the London game. If you're Dillingham, I think you want Leavitt in tow, so you can use him as someone to attract guys to come to the program. That's another part of this too. If you let him go in the hopes of building around another quarterback, well, you can't sell that quarterback coming to your school as much if it's Leavitt staying. Now, maybe it actually worked. Maybe we're like, oh, I want to play with Nico. I want to play with DJ Lagway. Throwing names out there. If you've watched this show enough, I don't have actual sources. I'm just throwing names out there. And maybe it works out in that way. But I think that I'm getting ahead of this notion that it's actually not the worst thing for ASU to lose Sam Leavitt. I disagree with that. Even though I understand the logical reasons why people would think that, I disagree with it. So there's that. And yeah, it just sucks. It's the only good thing about this is at least we know now, right? At least we know the gist of it now. Program can prepare. And as fans, it sucks. It really sucks. And it sucks that we have to see Dillingham's name bandied about for all these jobs. Not as much by the media, I want to say. Not as much by the media, but by other accounts. And it's still, you just have to deal with it. It's man, it's just I would much rather be in this position than just we're bad, right? Or we're irrelevant. We're relevant, right? We're not some might say too relevant. So there's that. It's not something I wanted to spend my day thinking about. I didn't I'll be honest. I thought when Dillingham was, all the signs point to him returning with him saying it and the stuff that's come out in the media. And I still believe that. That could change. That could change. We'll see. But all that stuff, I thought that if Dillingham would stay, then Leavitt would stay. And there wouldn't really be much jostling in between them about how's money going to play out. I thought that it would just be hey, you're going to get a little bit of a pay bump, or maybe a $500,000 pay bump, whatever a little bit is. You're going to get a pay bump of some kind, and then you're going to stay with us and develop here. But the point about all the guys ASU was losing off its roster, that's a real thing. That's a real thing that fans have to keep in mind. when all of this is going on. Like, it's a lot easier for Leavitt to be like, oh, I'm committed to this. I'm committed to being at ASU. If it's last January and you're seeing all these high talented guys that you're getting back to the team, staff is returning, and you think, oh, I can just have a good year this year and then I can go to the draft. Well, things didn't kind of turn out that way, whether it be partially the roster, like the O-line being not quite as good as we thought, or the injury, and maybe those things are tied too. Like, that's another part of it as well. I think that it's a different situation now. That's the worst part. I just don't want to be a fan and be completely caught off guard. And so I was a little caught off guard this morning, but now there's no being caught off guard, right? Now we can prepare ourselves for the worst case scenario, and that's losing Leavitt. Now, the super worst case scenario is losing them both, or losing Leavitt and then not replacing him with someone who at least we can replace him with someone who ends up being good, but I would like to replace him with someone that there's real reason to think he will be good. If it's Nico, or I joked with a friend in this, but go get Arch Manning if Steve Sarkisian goes to the Titans, right? Like something like that, a DJ Lagway, a high profile player with legitimate playing experience. Like that would be a great sign for this program. But I don't know. I just wish we didn't have to think about it. Like, it's the way of the world in college sports right now. And, I'm not fighting against it fully. I get the reasons why. And again, with football players, you have to make the money. I'm not really against it from a moral, this is how it should be. It's just I don't think that he's leaving just a complete dumpster fire, and it's oh, you have to get him out of there. It's oh, well, I mean, he's had success here. Not all of the success was because of him, I've been a Leavitt defender, but Scadaboo, last year, Leavitt was awesome last year. Scadaboo was the main driver behind that team. This year, Leavitt's not the best player on this team. It's Tyson. And Keith Abney could be considered better relative to his peers than Leavitt as well. Now, that's probably where I would end it, but it's not like he's just been surrounded by bums here. It'll be interesting to see how the NFL draft shakes out for ASU in the spring, because they get 6 guys drafted, which that's probably on the high end, but you can if you just go through some of the offensive guys that are entering and some of the defensive guys, it's not the craziest thing for them to have a pretty good weekend on the NFL draft. And that will show that hey, I know that it's not a high profile team or even a mid-tier team in the Big Ten or the SEC, but there's actual ASU taking Texas into double overtime and beating Texas Tech. That's not just because they have, tryhards on the team. They have actual talented guys. So this potential argument of he wasn't surrounded by anyone. No, he was uncertain of the future situation, but if he was really surrounded by nobodies, then he wouldn't have returned in 2025. So that's just the truth of it. But we'll see. There's probably going to be more news that comes out in the coming days. There's a chance I'm missing something during this recording. And, Dillingham, I believe, speaks tomorrow. And look, this will be – he's had kind of a saying of, I want people who want to be here, and, you're not here to be a hostage. And, this is a moment of truth for that, right? And that's why I think that Leavitt's going to leave. I don't think that ASU is going to, from their end, allocate too much to keep him when that's the detriment to the rest of the roster. I don't know if that's the best course of action, but it could turn out to be, right? It could turn out to be that way. So, it's yeah. All right. ASU has a game this weekend, and they just played a game. They beat West Virginia. I'm not going to dive too much into that game. I will say I thought Jeff Sims was excellent. 3 touchdowns, 207 yards, 19 of 28. That's a really good game, and he had 81 rushing yards as well. He played really well. Yes, West Virginia is not the best defense, but they were a lot better at stopping the run than a lot of these other teams that ASU has played. So I tip my hat to them on that. Man, like Jeff Sims has the opportunity to really, I don't want to say finish his career with the cherry on top, because I guess if he wins the next 2 games, then yes. If he is instrumental in ASU beating Colorado, like that's got to be a really good feeling for him. Because when he really became a punchline was that game in 2023 when Nebraska was at Colorado. He fumbled, I believe, twice, and it led to a big Colorado win. And my thing is like, dude, like Jeff Sims, you can torch this Colorado defense. I think it is there for the taking to be torched by him on the ground and through the air, obviously. But like with the way that Jeff Sims has been playing, with the command he has of the offense, like there's been no drop off in terms of just like how the offense is run. And like I've seen some people mention this, like the offense hasn't taken a huge step back without Leavitt. That's something to just like keep in mind. Again, Iowa State defense, West Virginia defense, like not the 85 Bears here, but who were the defenses they were playing before? You know, Mississippi State, Baylor, Houston's defense got torched by West Virginia. TCU's defense better than Baylor, but not that great. And then obviously Texas Tech, Sam Leavitt, like forever, whatever happens, like he played amazing against Texas Tech. So there's nothing there, but like, and then Utah, they were on the road with Sims. And that's fine. I can live with ASU not playing well in that game, but it's not like he's the only quarterback this year who's faced below average defense or not, unthreatening defenses. And he played well in those games. Like there's no way around it. So he's got to make sure there's no turnovers. He had a great week from that perspective. No turnovers, no real, you could blame the fumble on the snap on him. You can blame quarterback. Like again, and that was also on 4th and short anyway. So like you didn't get it. It's a turnover either way. So obviously you have to limit those at Colorado. You don't want to give an inferior team all the extra chances they get. Like that obviously helps them. It's football 101. But this would be a great opportunity for him. Colorado is not the complete dumpster fire that we think it is. They have had some losses. I mean, they had 2 losses where they got absolutely blown out, right? But in between that, they beat Iowa State. Granted, this was over a month ago. I mean, it was 5 weeks ago when they beat Iowa State. So take that for what it is. But then they played West Virginia fairly close on the road, and they didn't look like a complete disaster. They will be coming off a bye, and they at least have like power for talent. You're not playing a group of 5 team. So we can be really confident heading into this game, and we can expect ASU to win. I don't expect them to win comfortably. I was hoping to expect that, but I can't really expect that after what I saw versus West Virginia, because ASU was the better team in that game. Like ASU led for like almost all of the game. After they gave up 2 long drives early on, but after that they adjusted from a down-to-down basis. But they got gashed twice on plays that Colorado was probably the receivers to make that happen again. They got gashed in the first half, and then obviously the 90-yard touchdown. And like, okay, well now ASU has to kick a field goal. The positive side is like they moved the ball pretty much for the most part really well against West Virginia. And so if you do that against Colorado, you're probably going to win. Like if you just move the ball well, like ASU's done in the last 2 games with Sims, then it's probably going to work out in your favor. So really just like, I don't want this game to come down to a late field goal that ASU needs to hit in elevation in cold weather. Like, I just don't want that. And so it's it's a losable game. I don't think it's a game that like you should be super worried about as a fan. I mean, they're still 7.5 point road favorites, right? It's not some just like, oh my gosh, what are we like? No, like, but you should like whether Jordan Tyson plays or not. And to think that I was going to lead this show about Jordan Tyson's health. Oh, silly me. What a sweet summer child I was. but um, yeah. So it's just this. You have to win this game. Like if you lose this game, then you'll have a loss that is truly unforgivable, which almost happened against West Virginia. Yeah, it'll be on the road. That's really it. That's really the only like, oh, you have to deal with this. Like, no, I mean, that's pretty much it. Julian Lewis, like, if you can handle Scotty Fox Jr., you could probably handle Julian Lewis. I don't even mean that negatively, but like this ASU defense has shown that it's good enough to not, get completely torched in these games. It's only gotten torched in one game, right? So keep that in mind. And then also like Dillingham, you don't want to fall to 0-2 against Dion in your career. And especially it would be losing to two bad Colorado teams too. Now, the first time you were also a bad team, so whatever. But they won't have Travis Hunter. They won't have Shador. They won't have Webster and Weaver, who are now in the NFL. Like, they can't really run the ball. You have the upper hand in this game. I know people have talked about injuries and like all that's true. You 100% still have the upper hand in this game. So just from an on-field perspective, I would love to see ASU just really hammer the run game at them, take the passing plays that are there, and just create some separation with them in Colorado. But I don't really see that happening. I think that it'll be a game where ASU is up by like 10 to 14 points at some point in the fourth quarter, but they end up only winning by one score, So I'll just give a score prediction. I'll go ASU 31, Colorado 23. I think it'll be a game that's like a game that ASU is clearly better. Well, actually, you know what? I don't think ASU is going to cover. So I'll go ASU 31, Colorado 24. So a game like that. And you know what? Like, look, it would be unsatisfying to win. Like, I would really like to see ASU win this game comfortably, but I just don't envision that. And so it would be really nice to enter the Arizona game with more conviction about the team. But that's just not how it's playing out. That said, like getting to 8 wins, like if you get to 8 wins, you at least I feel like 8-4. It's just a little bit better than 7-5, and it's a little bit more of like, okay, like you went 8-4, like you were clearly better than mediocre. Now getting to 9-3 would be awesome. And so another thing is like you have to win this game to get to 9-3, no matter what. So there's that, and you would just avoid a embarrassing loss. Losing to Houston is not embarrassing. Maybe the way they did, or the way it looked like it was, the lead that Houston got on ASU was embarrassing. But that loss alone is not. Losing to Utah, not embarrassing. Losing to Mississippi State, embarrassing adjacent, but kind of the back and forth nature of that game makes it less so. This would be just, there's no like, oh, no, there's no explaining away a potential loss here. So, I'll take ASU 31-24. I would also, I think that's it with football. Basketball, I'll just kind of wrap this up quickly. Like, no, stop sharing. Okay. I'll wrap this up quickly with basketball. Like, the ASU men's basketball team is, I'll just say, well, one, they're clearly competent. Like, they are not, I don't think they're just going to completely crater this year. I think they have the leadership, weirdly enough, with a bunch of transfers. Like Mo Odom, like everyone loves Mo Odom. And I went and saw them on Monday night against Georgia State. Like, he was outstanding in that game. Jop is just really good. We don't know his NBA future, all that. Like, he could hit the portal, like all that, like could happen, whatever. Right now, he's good. and he looks like a future NBA player. He's smooth. Didn't have the best game against EK, but still managed to have okay statistics. And, losing to Gonzaga, that game, we've seen this game before from ASU men's basketball where they come out hot and then another team kind of pulls away in the first half. And then it's kind of is ASU within 5 points? Bad officiating. You can't miss as many free throws as they did against Gonzaga, but that's also going to be like a top 10 team. They're really good. So ultimately, we can get into how they lost to Gonzaga. I just felt like that was going to be a loss no matter what. I don't feel like this team is powerless based on what I've seen so far against the other high major programs that will face in the non-conference. I think it is I think there's a world in which this team goes 2-2 against Texas, Oklahoma, UCLA, and I'll just say Oregon State, even though Santa Clara might actually be a better team. So my point is I think that they'll be competent. I don't know what that'll mean for the Big 12 though. You could still be the 10th best team in the Big 12 if that's the case. And that's probably not good enough in terms of saving Hurley's job. So that's down the road, but this is a worthy team to go check him out for a non-conference game. It was a good well, I won't say good atmosphere. It was a fun time watching them play Georgia State. Georgia State hit a bunch of threes early on to kind of what's the word? Just influence the way the game played out. But it was ASU was, especially in the second half, they really clamped down, and their length was just so much better than Georgia State. And so, we'll see how they play in Hawaii. They play Hawaii Thursday night, late night game, and then they're in the Maui Invitational. And if they beat Texas, then they'll play the winner of Chaminade and Wazoo. And so that would be an advantageous spot for them. So they have a chance to really stack up some wins in the Maui Invitational, even if they don't and end up winning it and they're on the wrong side of the bracket or whatever. You never know how these teams are going to play out to be as the season goes along. And so maybe you beat one of these teams in the Maui Invitational and then it ends up being a huge win down the road. So 3-1, kind of what everyone would have expected, but none of these early games, these bye games, have really come back to bite ASU in the ass. Can't say that every year. So we've gotten through 3 of these. In each one, they've won by double digits. It looked a little weird with Georgia State at points, but eventually they went on to win and win comfortably. So I think this team is at least worth watching and worth thinking, oh, okay, they're interesting. And you know what? For ASU men's basketball entering the 2025-26 season, I wasn't think I'd be saying that. That's better than we thought they were going to be. So fun stuff. Let's hope Leavitt doesn't transfer. I expect that he will. And I hope I'm wrong, but I just think there's too much writing on the wall at this point with the news that came out on Tuesday, November 18th, 2025, to envision him not transferring. So sucks. But you know what? Who knows what the future holds? We have no idea. All right. Thank you for watching and listening, everyone. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Please rate and review on your podcast platform of choice. And as always, go Sun Devils.